Look, let the record show we are not going 5 hours today. For all of you who get that joke, great. For those of you who don't, you should have been on the 5 hour stream. But hi guys, welcome to the Africans. We primarily Canadian and African content. So if you haven't already, like this video. We're gonna be talking about the Unity Cup today. We're gonna talk about all four teams, a little bit of what we saw from the teams, what we liked, any players that maybe stood out, what this might mean for them in these friendly matchups. So leave your like, comment if you're new to the channel. That's again, we do Canadian football and African football. So leave a subscribe if you want to be caught up with everything that I do, however frequently or infrequently that I do it. And we go from there. So we are here to talk about the Unity Cup. It's myself, it's the CONCACAF team. And as I said, JD, we are not doing 5 hours. Okay? Just
Yes, but Africans, my problem was the link, the Twitter thingy is really operating dodgy. I can't even get your messages, you know. So I can't click it from my computer. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they're trying to scam my computer or something. But I can't click the link from there. I had to use my phone to come on.
mm,
So
you
no, I'm
are,
gonna try to
yeah.
see what you have my email or something. You could send it to
Yeah,
my
I can
email
get,
so I
yeah,
can
I'll
click it
send it
from
to your
there.
email there. This is not
All
the
right,
first time
yes.
this has happened to me this week. So it's a
Okay.
it's a
So
Twitter
what's up
thing,
with
yeah.
Twitter? Why are they so terrible?
I'd say they probably don't have enough people working there, but hey,
Okay.
that's my opinion.
All right.
That's
All
my
right.
opinion.
All right. So I'm setting up the computer and then I will come back on as soon
Yeah,
as you send it. Yeah.
not a problem. There and everyone's enjoying me sending emails. But so here we're here to talk about the games that are here. So wherever you're repping, if you're repping Trinidad, if you're repping Jamaica, if you're repping Ghana or Nigeria, or you were just here for the chaos, let us know what you saw from the Unity Cup, which teams impressed you, which players impressed you. We're going to be talking about that and the conversation throughout this. We're going to max 90, guys. We're going no length, no longer than the length of a game. I'm not trying to do an 8 hour shift here. The question is, who are your four standouts? They could be from one side, they can be from all four sides. I'm going to give you some of my standouts from the four games because I watch all four and we'll talk about that. But if you are from that nation, tell me players that you thought really stood out. I know we'll have nice animated conversations on both the Nigerian and the Ghanaian side point. We'll have good conversations on the Jamaican side. Again, when you're in CONCACAF, it feels like this is your second home. So you're here. And to the Soca Warrior fans out there, give me the players that have stood out for you. But that is what we want to do. We want to talk about players that stood out in their first set of games and what this could mean for them possibly. Yes, it's a bit of an overreaction, but it's good to kind of, I'm not saying these players are to the moon and beyond, but I'd say let's keep a bookmark on this player. Let's see how they develop. Or maybe it's time to put them into the side and we'll go from there. So, guys, let us begin. Let me know that in the comments below. But here we have two games to talk about. We have the first game here, which happened 2 days ago. We had Jamaica getting by. I know the title says Jamaica outlasts Trinidad because I think in both games we had the same discourse. The first half was dominant from one side, and then the second half of both these games, action on both sides of the pitch, quite frankly. A very enjoyable watch, very entertaining. A lot of the commentary I've talked to really enjoyed all the actions here, and I've loved it. But we had the first game here. So we had Trinidad getting by, but falling to Jamaica. You had goals by Casey Palmer, a penalty, Roman Burrell in the 53rd, then Richard King in the 90th plus 4 minute of added time. Both penalties earned by Ronaldo Cephas. And then on the Trinidad and Tobago side, Leacock and Molina in the 54th and 69th minute combined. I think you look at this game, we're on SofaScore, guys. So this is where we're getting some of our talking points, some of our ratings, like it a little bit better. 4-3-3 for Jamaica versus a 3-4-3 for Trinidad and Tobago. And to be quite frank, I think there's a lot of interesting points. I can give you my players, but I think my flow and my thought of the game first was not to say that one side looked better, but it's the best I think I've looked at Jamaica's midfield as the outsider. It's the best I've seen it look in a little bit. of games that I've watched. I want that to be clear. So if someone's going to yell at me and say, "Did you watch this game?" But probably not. We'll see. But in terms of the games I've watched, this is the best I've seen their midfield look, right? And that's always going to be a fun conversation piece when you talk about who was in that middle, who was in that midfield. But a combination of Isaac Hayden, Casey Palmer, and John Russell, I think in the first half, especially when they were able to start their counters, I think that's the best they looked, getting the ball, moving it, progressing. That's the best I think I've seen that midfield look in a very, very long time. We can talk about the front line a little bit. I don't know, but we'll talk about that later. The back line, Davis is the goalkeeper, had moments for me at least. I think there were moments where he looked good. There were moments where he also
African froze exactly as I
a little
came in,
bit
or it's my
shaky.
okay.
Unbelievable. See, here's what you jump in and then see. You want me to go 90 plus minutes. There's no extra time in the stream. It's a hard 90. But JD, I was saying for Jamaica in their game, I think this is the best I've seen their midfield play in the games that I've watched from some time, right? And that's probably looking at games like in CONCACAF Nations League. That's looking at games at the Gold Cup. I think this is the best I've seen their midfield look. I think the back line had both ups and downs. The goal Davis was a little bit shaky in goal. I know a lot of the debate that I've seen from you, and I was on Jason's stream a little bit talking about that front line. Cephas Dixon and family is always going to be a fun conversation. But for you, based off what you saw from Jamaica, what just as a overall, how did you find their performance against Trinidad?
I would say it's a game of two halves.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously this team came in with a lot of jet lags, players not in much shape. So you expected that it would have been a rough around the edge, especially when it's coming down to the final moments. That's what I would have led it to, and I think that's what it came down to as well. Because if you check the game itself, the best thing that they did, they played for 25 minutes, solid. You understand me? And then they started to get wider and wider, so that means the fitness level starts to drop. And obviously it's a new group, so the cohesion is not there either. So I would say that we got the best performance that they could have actually put out. So I would agree with you on that. For me, it's a good performance overall for the condition, but I still believe that we had things that they could have worked on, as in like the gaps and everything. But as we said, it's a new team, and they just got themselves together, and some ain't in the best condition. So it's just the heart that they wanted to come out and play with. I know that you have a different heart that they had to talk on, but that's not the one that we're talking on. We're talking on just them, the will with their actual ability. Yeah. So I would agree with you. And the midfield definitely made things completely looking better.
No, it's good. I think that's fair, right? And then up top, I think there's a lot of talking points for the front three. I think Burrell, Dixon, and Cephas, I think they all offered something different that you saw within the game, at least for myself when I looked at those three. Burrell, I hadn't seen. I don't think this was Burrell's first cap for the team, correct?
Yeah, Burrell's first cap. Yeah, yes, it is his first cap.
So Burrell, I mean, was going to be something. Was going to be a revelation one way or the other, right? We were going to discover something or discover nothing, but we were going to get something out of it. And then you had Cephas and Dixon as well. Dixon is in a lot of discourse I hear, which I think I'll probably echo here, is I think Dixon, you see the potential, but it's just where do you put him to be successful? As a 9, he has the movements, but can he hold up versus a strong center back? Can he fight off a strong fullback? Maybe not now, but you at least see the movements are there, right? A player like Cephas, I said this in the game yesterday. I think it's Cephas's Cephas is interesting because you see the good, you see the potential, but then you also can look at it and say there are players, there's still areas that you can grow. Again, this is not the first team, so no one's at their final position, no one's at their final state as a footballer. I would argue that I think maybe some of them are closer to that, and maybe you want to start to utilize them more in those ranges. But is there development still for some of these players? Yes. Will it come as a range? We'll have to wait and see. But I think that front line, I think, showed well. You had Dixon in the first half, I think, was much more active and much more present within getting some chance shots off. You had Cephas with his speed, causing a little bit of havoc, getting the penalty. And then Burrell, I think I liked Burrell's movement. Burrell's movement wasn't as direct and no, not direct. Direct's not the word I want to use. It wasn't as flashy, say, as Dixon's, but it was very subtle in getting himself in positions in moments. And I really liked how he looked there. So for you, that front line, JD, what are some of your takeaways for Jamaica on that front line?
All right. So with the front line, what I would say now, I like what I saw with Burrell. I like what I saw awfully with Dixon. Awfully, because that is important. He's young, and I do believe that he's getting into his own elements, right?
Mm-hmm.
Into his own elements, but he still has some physical challenges, and based off that, it makes it more difficult for him to really, what I would say, get his true feet. So you had some players for Canada that had some, what I would say, that had some all right. What's the girl name? Malou from Canada.
Yes. Okay.
Malou from
Yeah.
Canada. Malou from Canada. I saw when our physicality, even though our game wasn't as sharp, you saw what she did. He would have been the opposite. His physicality is the last part of the game coming together, but his skills is there, you know. But Cephas now, on the other hand, he has the physicality, but he doesn't really have the skill set, the fundamentals at all.
Yeah.
You understand me? So the front line was not so amazing to me, to be honest.
Okay. That's fine. And again, we're evaluating it. I think I saw things that I liked. I think there are moments that you could look at on all the sides where you could say, okay, I like what Burrell did here. I think the first half, I think, was more so stronger for Dixon, in my opinion. I think Cephas had moments both. I mean, Cephas gets 2 penalties there, but then he also has 2 chances in front of the net where I think maybe if he can read the play better in that situation, it's not 3-2, it's maybe 4-2, maybe it's 5-2 at that point, given the stake. And maybe you don't need those. Maybe it's still 3-2 because you don't need the additional penalties there. But you see the potential of a Cephas. And I think I was thinking about how I wanted to term it here, but like I can understand where you'd say it wasn't the greatest performance. And I'm not saying it's the greatest performance either, but I think there was enough there to warrant an interesting look to say, I think, yes, maybe in a less long role, maybe in a shorter role, maybe with the senior team, with the full team, maybe they have something to offer, right? You look at a player like Cephas and maybe you look at him and you say, maybe not a full 90, but maybe he's a solid 60th minute. Let me put you on and just go at the fullback, go at the center back, create space, and especially if you're defending for long periods of stretch. I think Cephas would probably suit that. I think if you're trying to build up a little bit more, or if you're trying, I think Dixon probably is better suited to start, and he could still probably have that similar role as a Cephas there, but maybe not as explosive in terms of the raw speed. And then a Burrell, I think, is someone who, if you're expecting maybe a 50-50 type game possession, he's a player who can maybe find a moment and create something when you have a bit more of that possession in that box, right? So I don't know if necessarily you're going to say this entire 11, send them to the senior team, start them against in World Cup qualifiers. But I think at least the front 3, you can look and say, there are some points where you say, if you were going to utilize this with the senior team, where could they be best utilized? And I think probably Cephas as a super sub right now, maybe Dixon as a 9, maybe as a central forward in space. And then Burrell, maybe Burrell needs another run, and maybe you start him against Nigeria to see how he does against maybe a little bit more physical of a team, a little bit a faster defensive line, see how he reacts to that. And maybe that gets you a better read on what he can do in the CONCACAF region from there. Right?
I think it's going to take a little extra time. That's why I wanted to see more of all of these players so we can calculate what we really want to do. And in the end, the Unity Cup was a thing that I never really liked, but in the end, I said, okay, it might just work out good for these players solely due to the fact that he could see more. So if we think that somebody's coming through the crack, then you could actually look at it from that side. You understand me? Yes,
Yeah.
but if not, let's see. But at the time, I think the coach had said that he had what you call it? He had a set of players, but he has 3 more players to add to the list.
Yeah.
Right? He has 3 more players to add to the list. So I think that's just 3 spots. If you ask me if all 3 of these guys, which one of them would have been in it, he talked about Cephas. So Cephas would have been the one in it. According to his statement. But based on my understanding, based on what I saw from all the players, I don't think he is in it in the ability stage, because I think that Dixon showcased more skill set in certain areas, but he doesn't show the physicality, right? And then on the flip-hand side, Sifa showed the speed. Then Burrell shows a lot more, but you have Leon Bailey, Damara Gray, and Mikel Antonio with 2 more individuals coming in, which is Mothersill and Tyrese Campbell.
It's getting crowded up front for Jamaica right now, which in one way, A, makes minutes harder to fight for, but then B, maybe you need competition will bring out the best in everyone, right? Maybe that gets people into better form at their clubs, but then ultimately maybe that gets the coach to try to utilize players in a better space. Who knows? We'll see. But I think that's fair. If you have to single out one player, because we're going 4, you can either do actually, we'll go through all the teams and then you'll go for some of your standouts, because we can go 1 from each team, which I could do. I'm prepared to do, but I mean, I feel like
we have no problem. We have no problem. Let me go through it.
Yeah. But yeah, but before I know, people have been here from 2:43, when I think when JD was still in his 3rd hour of streaming today. So
yes, I did 5. I did 5, and believe me, that's going to give me a delay time, because I had something to do tomorrow on it. I'm not even sure if I have the body strength when I'm done. So
you were
I'm just doing my hours. I'm just doing my hours.
You were inching for a 7. At this point, I have to call HR and be like, "Hey, does he have a scheduled lunch yet, or no?" We'll see. But yes, Odell was here a little bit earlier. Good to see you.
Odell, okay, yeah. They did pass through, because we thought
they did pass through.
They thought that we would have started instant. They thought that we would have started instant. But we never started instant.
HR said you needed a lunch break, and due to worker regulations, I needed to give you a lunch break. Martin Baker, thank you for stopping by as well. John Jones, my favorite Nigerian. Did I really think Nigeria was going to lose to the Bleak Stars of God? Yes, I did, and I was wrong. So this is my life. This is my luck. As long as yes, that's true. Was it a bucket of KFC, JD? Was it a bucket of KFC?
No. Alulana said that he heard me brag about Jamaica beating Super Eagles. No, I had never said that Jamaica beating no Super Eagles. So don't try to bring an argument there, because I think the Jamaican masses would not have think the same. They would have thought that I think the Super Eagles would have beaten Jamaica. Believe me, that's what they would have believed. So I think you're thinking the opposite way.
That is true.
I think you're thinking the opposite way. I'm trying to share this so people on our channel can come on.
No, good. Yes, Kevon.
Yes, I was not thinking that way, and I just stick to the analysis. And if Jamaica will win, I will say that. But if I don't think Jamaica will win, I will also
boy.
said say that it's not a problem to me. I have no problem. All right, I have no problem. Okay,
See,
I have no
JD,
problem.
and now it's a matchup with the two teams that whenever I give them credit, they disappoint me. So I'm not going to win anyway. I lose in this situation. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Kevon Jones, good to see you as well. JD, as we flip it over to Trinidad here, right? Trinidad has a better second half than their first half. Able to come through. I think on to me, not to just single out a player immediately.
Yeah, Alulana was here. So go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah.
Alulana was here for a while. Yeah.
Yes. Diet Fanta. Why? Why would you have? You know, I respect it. I respect Diet Fanta. But if you're looking at Trinidad and Tobago, like players that stood out for you, for me, Rio Cardines, I think the young left back at Crystal Palace's U21. You're going to hear me talk about a lot of 19-year-olds in this window because I think at least a lot of my list is Rio Cardines and then going to Ghana and saying, you young player, you young player. But I think Rio stood out for me on this pitch for Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm looking up his transfer score or not his transfer market right now. And he's played youth for Trinidad. Yesterday was his first senior call up, his first start at that. But he is a player who's played U17, he's played U20. I am outside of Rio or including Rio, who really stood out on the pitch for the Soca Warriors there in terms of how they played? And is there a few players you're intrigued to see? Maybe put a bookmark in and say, let's see how this player develops over time here.
Cardenas, or if that's the way you pronounce his name, definitely looks like a young quality player that they're bringing in. Obviously, they don't have the same luxury to take the players them at a certain age as Jamaica. You understand me? And
Yes.
because he's a little bit younger and he's coming in from the U21s of Crystal Palace. I saw that, and that is something that I like, you know. So even though they don't have the full luxury, they are still trying to go out and get something going. You have I saw the forward. No, you have the forward that they brought in. He looks like a quality, but I think Cardenas would be the one that I am going to key out mainly, because I do believe that he's the one in this one. You do have Nathaniel James. He's not in this squad. I still want to see where this kid is going to matriculate into. I'm still waiting on that. You get me? But obviously he's not here for we to see truly where he is at. You understand me? Yes. So that is two. That is two of them, and you have my boy at in the JPL same way. Overy. So those are three players. Obviously, two of them ain't here, but they are still good enough that I think that they can be the linchpin of their team. And if they do get others in the future, it would be better. You understand?
No, definitely. I do. I think getting those players, that's good. And I think that's what it works. I think I saw, who was it? Deadball said was saying on Twitter, it would have been great if we had the full first teams for both of these games. It would have been a better matchup. I think this is how I kind of feel for this. I think if you're going to play a friendly like this, at least make it as competitive, make it mean as much as it can without it being as competitive as it needs to be. And if you're doing that, I think this is the best way to do it, right? I think, yes, if you had your top players here, it would have been a better showing for sure. But you're throwing in younger players, young in terms of age, but then young in terms of newness to the program, and you're playing a rival, right? If you're Trinidad, you're playing Jamaica, that's your rival. If you're Ghanaian, you're playing Nigeria, that's your rival, right? So if you can't get up, and that's how I was thinking about it, if you can't get up for playing your rival in your first matchup, I'll give you grace for this first game. But after that, not that I've seen what I need to see, but can you get up to that level of intensity? Because that's as close as you're going to get to a competitive game without it being a World Cup qualifier, without it being a continental qualifier. It's, hey, you're playing your rival, it's a friendly, and the fans are there. So come out and play. Do you think this tournament, I mean, I think it's gone much better than I thought it would. Do you think it would have benefited from having more of the major players, or do you think this format, giving some new players to programs the opportunity, that would have suited it better?
I would say that what we saw now, we clearly saw that it could work, because remember, it's a revamp of the competition, you know. It's a revamp of the competition. So now you saw it work. Maybe you could find a way to alter the time, but you have to find a way to drop it into a time where you don't have the Gold Cup or
Mhm.
something going. You understand me?
Yeah.
Because if you want the better players them to come, teams are always going to prioritize their actual competition for their country rather than
Yeah.
anything else. You understand me?
Mhm. No, and I think that's fair. I think I said on Blue Sky, I was saying like the women's game has, the She Believes Cup, the Algrave Cup, the Pinatar Cup, the every cup. And then I'm like, I miss having this is as high stakes as I can get without it being a game. Right. So yes, on the women's side, you don't have as much. I think with the women's side, there's more time for said types of these tournaments. The men's schedule is so much more congested. And no, we're not going to have an argument about schedule congestion. It's 2025. I've spoken about it too much. But I think you give you these opportunities. I think finding those teams that you have something to play for could work. So if you're doing it in another year, maybe it's Jamaica and someone else maybe it's Jamaica and Panama, right? Because then that's more of a CONCACAF rivalry versus a Caribbean rivalry. But then maybe if you're looking at CAF, right? Maybe it's South Africa and Nigeria because they don't get along, or maybe it's you get Cote d'Ivoire and Cameroon and other. I think it can work. I think the country, because it's England, it's a lot easier just to say Commonwealth countries, come on down, and I think that works a lot easier. But I think for how it is, I've liked what I've been able to see in terms of these players getting a chance because again, I am a big proponent of the friendly. I don't need 18 Nation League tournaments every year. If you just did Nations League every 2 years, you did your Continental tournament every 2 years, and you gave me the opportunities for more of this, I could do with one less Nations League tournament and say, give me 3 more Unity Cups. I would appreciate that. Even with Canada doing the Canadian Shield, I mean, that means Canada gets to play Cote d'Ivoire and Ukraine, and those teams get to play New Zealand. You're not going to get those matchups in normal friendly. So I think this June window, if FIFA is wise and they can leave it this open, not have so many continentals, I think you could open yourself up to a lot more of these interesting, fascinating friendlies where you can get a South American team going to Africa, or a South American team playing an African team maybe in Europe, or you get an Asian team playing a CONCACAF team probably in CONCACAF, or it'll be in Asia, let's not pretend. But like, give me the opportunity for these friendlies, and I think that'll be great. And giving these coaches the opportunities to see some of their depth, I think, is working well for them. But any last thoughts on this Jamaica Trinidad matchup as it stands here?
To be honest, I think, as I said, it's
JD, I think your mic is muted. Yeah. But yeah, yes, as JD fixes the mic.
I back.
You're back. Yes.
It is the thing. No, as I was saying, they said Dwight York said it was just a friendly. So we can break it down as to what we want.
Mhm.
Which he still likes that, and we have to take it as he's still trying out players. So maybe they could have gone harder in certain instances, but they didn't, because it's not as effective as to what we thought. Yeah. So
Yeah.
um. I congratulations to Trinidad. I like their attitude. I like their attitude, and the direction that they're going in. Jamaica, I just want to see the next step about Jamaica, because remember, these players were known to be here. They
Yeah.
were to be coming in, but it's what Jamaica does next. You understand me?
Yes. And again, when you're with this friendly, because the CONCACAF sides have World Cup qualifiers right afterwards, I think there's more at stake for them. Yes, they are just friendlies, but I mean, as the Ghanaian who lost to Nigeria, I'll just say it was a friendly. Nigeria always wins their friendlies, right? I'll say that tongue in cheek, but like, I think there is value to these games because of who you're looking at. And I mean, speaking of them, let's talk about my pain, which I mean, I mean, you saw me yesterday. The first half was not fun for me, but you have in the second matchup we had Nigeria over Ghana 2-1. The first half defending was an adventure. Dessers and Razak Simpson with an own goal in the 14th and 19th minute. Brian Thomas Asante gets Ghana back in it in the 70th minute. Again, the same as the Jamaica Trinidad game, a tale of two halves. The first half was dominated by the team that won, but the second half was a game of just different levels of intensity. And you saw some players rise to the occasion, and you saw players who struggled at the occasion. But I will say, in terms of just pace of play, man, you watch that Trinidad Jamaica game and you saw some chances here when Trinidad started to try to push. Ghana was pushing. Once they scored that goal, it was as if Ghana said, "Oh, we can run and pass." And yes, it's a bit of Nigeria doing the sit back and defend. Defending the leads are the worst unless they're a 2-goal lead. But the pace of play in that Ghana Nigeria match, am I upset that Ghana lost? Yes. But did I learn something about some of these young players? Yes. So am I sad? No. I got what I wanted out of this game, JD. I said the way that they went, I wanted them to play and test out some of their depth, and they were able to do so. And some players were able to play well. Aaron SL struggled more so than his age mates, right? Christopher Bonsuba played well. Irenchi played very well coming in for Mamadou in the second half. And then Thomas Asante was just what you like to see out of that. So, I mean, you look at this game, but you can take the Nigeria side. I wanted to talk first, but then I will humbly remove myself and say, talk. Nigeria, what did you like from what you saw from the Eagles here? They were super for once. Good for them.
For me, the team did better than what you expected, because you said it could be 2-1. I know you're just talking because there's nobody said 2-1 and then go to 6-love. And not
I was giving you a range of possibilities.
So when I heard that, I said Africans is not confident in it, because there's nobody leave from 2-1 to 6-love. You understand me?
Yeah.
Lost 6-love, lost, not winning. So 2-1 to 6-love. So for me, it just seems like you and we already went through it to say that you have some younger players here, and it's just to see what they have to offer. And Nigeria team was kind of top heavy, even though they still mixed the starting lineup, because I was surprised that Sikeru was actually on. And I saw that they did it right throughout. So, but they still had enough quality, so they could still pick apart early on, Ghana, and that really helped them out big time. You understand me?
Oh, yeah. It was a level of, again, the thing I said, you're playing your rival in this type of a game. You're either going to get up for it or you're not. And eventually the ball is kicked and you play. But yeah, some of these young Ghanaian players played well. Aaron Essel, though he came off injured, I think he struggled in the first half. And I think if you're the coach there, it's like, hey, it's your first action. He's a young player too. So am I going to judge him for playing his rivals and being stressed? No, I'm not going to blame him. You have another opportunity. And then after that, that's when you start to say, are you this type of a player, or can you take steps in being this other type of a player? But yeah, I think there were levels, right? When Chukwueze has the ball and he's squaring up, Aaron Essel, you're looking there saying like, Lord, please, let it be quick and painless, one way or the other, please. And in some cases it was quick. In other moments I was just like, I'm just gonna suffer through this, aren't I? And that's when I started saying, I did say they could get 6. So if I get 6 today,
Chukwueze started very, very fast, very, very fast. His cuttings were clean, and I saw that 2 persons were actually trying to take him out. To be honest, like they were not even trying to guide him, usher him to any lines. They were just trying to take him out, and I think that really opened space for the others to run. We have to be honest, and it kind of opened everything. But we have to give them credit. The way they, would we flat out say? One second, go ahead, Big Ross. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Oh, okay, my bad. Yeah, like I don't like. I feel that for how Ghana performed here, I think they were. I think I wouldn't. They lost the game. I'm not gonna say it's a win, but I learned something. This is one of the things I'll always say with friendlies. As long as I learn something, I'm not really. The result doesn't matter as much to me. And I learned Aaron Essel struggled a bit, but Bonsu Ba, he came to life, right?
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about
No,
that.
no problem, no problem.
I
Urenchi
got
came
that
to
call.
life in the second half, right? The midfield, I expect that's the one thing I was disappointed with. I think the first half, the midfield, I wanted more from for Ghana, but I mean, especially with Ashmiru, I thought that he would be a good player to step in, but out the first half, Ghana, I think I saw one commentator say Ghana looked all right for the first 10, 15 minutes, and then it was just a wave of green eagles just coming at every child that they saw, and you were just like, oh, five, five, five. I thought 6 love at halftime wasn't coming at that point, and I was getting ready just to say, yeah, I'm here. I was letting everyone know in the chat I was here. But when you look at I think Nigeria overall, they came into this game with, I think, a little bit of an older side playing. And so, yes, you can, that composure, that level of being able to be up for this type of a moment, it's different than when you're playing kids. And I'm not just going to say, hey, Nigeria beat a bunch of kids. So go, I'm not trying to diminish how they played, but there's a maturity that comes with that. And my only problem with Nigeria is if only we can get like something like this from them more consistently. I think that's what frustrates most Nigerian fans, right? If you could get them playing like now again, you're not gonna have a center back who is a little bit, and we're picking on Aaron Essel, and I'm not trying to, but you're not gonna have a center back who misjudges his line and backs up and gives Desers a free opportunity at a cross in. You're not gonna have that all the time. But could you have a team that's playing competently and with the maturity to go forward? You don't get to play your rivals every game, so I guess you don't get up for every game. But if Nigerian fans had this side, that first half of them every game, I don't think they would complain as much as they would. And I wouldn't be the one who critiques them as much as they do, because that's the consistency that we miss with them. But back to you, JD, because I know you have a thought that you wanted to share.
Yes, I was just saying I want you to give maybe it was a combination of Nigeria dropping off because of how the first half went. You have to look at it from that standpoint. How the first half went. I think they might have took their foot off the gas and look at one eye on Jamaica to say that okay, we have the injuries and everything, and it's a combination of both, that took place. 1 second again. What why people call me? 1 second.
Okay, go. No, I think that's a fair point. I think you can look and say Ghana up their level in the second half, but then also Nigeria kind of took their foot off the gas. I won't. That's a fair point. That I think that's a fair point for them. But I mean, you have to take advantage of what is there. I think when you looked at Ghana started the second half with a lot more energy. Bantuba on the right side, number 22. For those of you who aren't sure, I'm saying names because Bantu is a strong name. But I think Ghana definitely started their second half a lot better, and the substitutions really did play a part. I know Bonsu was played the majority of the game, and then you had Thomas Asante playing well in that second half, and then Urenchi played well as well. But that's where I'd say the first half versus the second half. I think if you look at Nigeria, they never tend to put it all together all the time. It's either score two, like their first half, they score two, and you think, I guess they're scoring six, or you get their second half where they are kind of holding on to a lead and they make everyone look good. A Jamaican, I jokingly say this, but it's true. There's not much different between the Jamaican football viewing experience and the Nigerian football viewing experience. For whatever reason, they'll play to the level of their team recently, and it's frustrating for fans because you look at a team and you'll say it's 2 love. Okay,
Sorry,
we're good.
Africans, yet again,
No,
too much people calling me. That's go okay, but continue. I don't know what is going on, why they're
all
calling me,
good.
but I was one of my good friend calling me, so yeah, but
Yeah.
that's okay. I told
No,
him
you're
that we're
good.
on the live stream, so he can just jump on or something. Maybe he's gonna come on soon.
True. But I think I was just saying the viewing experience for a Nigeria side and a Jamaican side feels like it's similar, where it's you'll have stretches where they look really good, and then you'll have other stretches where you wonder, what are we doing on the pitch? Why are they playing to the level of the team? And it becomes frustrating. I think as fans of both or either, I get it. As someone from the outside who says, I wish we could get more from them, it is frustrating. But I think if you're Nigeria, like you were saying, I think it's a combination of Nigeria taking their foot off the gas, but then Ghana also turning up the pressure a little bit and playing with a little bit more intensity. And again, once Ghana scored that goal in the 70th minute, it was almost as if Ghana said, "We can run and pass. Okay, well, let's do this." And they are a side. I'll make that comparison. There is once they get one, it's not the same as Canada. I remember when Canada was in World Cup qualifiers in 2021-22. The second someone would score against them, I would say, and this is the most confident I feel in Canada, because it seems that that's when the light switches for them, and that's when they start to push for something else. And with this Ghana side, I think what I'm encouraged with is the young players, right? Bonsuba, number 22, Inyurechi, number 5, Thomas Asante, 23. They came in and they showed that hunger to me, where I'm thinking, okay, I literally after the game, I went to the depth chart. I said, okay, right back. Okay. Seydu. Okay, cool. Tariq Lamptey. Okay. Tariq's always injured. So maybe Orechi gets in. Maybe he gets a call in the fall. He has to continue on and play well, but maybe that is. You look at Thomas Asante and you say, okay, Inyaki, he's probably like what you think Inyaki should be playing as a 9, even though Inyaki right now, they found a form for him out wide. I'm like, okay, that works. Bonsuba, I think his problem is there's too many wingers for Ghana. Ghana has too many wingers to know what to do with, between Suleimana, between Nuama, between Jordan, who will play out wide from time to time. Plus, you're playing Inyaki out wide as well. There's too many wingers for Ghana. But hey, that's 3 players that you've earmarked who are, 19 to 23, that you say maybe it's not this 2026 cycle, but in 2027, maybe they're knocking out the door in 2026, and by 2027, now you're saying, okay, let's see what these players can do, because you have that hunger. You saw them perform. You're playing your rival, and they showed up. I love that. And as for Nigeria, I mean, like I said, you have a Chukwueze, great. Desers, I mean, I like him as a 9, but it's the same problem that Ghana with wingers. Nigeria has too many 9s to know what to do with them. Right.
And well, that's true. But remember, yeah. So you don't think this year can really cut it, because he's not bad at all. I think he gives maybe something like, if they want to change that 2, you never may know. What say you?
He's not bad, but I'm thinking, okay, Boniface, Osimhen, the guy at Forest, like there's I think for me, I would say this. I think he deserves a call if you're trying to shake up those 9s and say, if Eric Shell is looking at his depth chart and saying, hey, we need people to perform, and you haven't been cutting it yet. Like if he said, I'll take Desers and I say Boniface stay home for this window as a message to him, I think that's not a terrible choice. I think there's enough 9s, and that's where I think when you have that depth, do you, and I'll use the word, do you manipulate, or do you try to motivate your top players with your depth wisely? Or do you just say, they're my top players, I'm just going to call them because that's it? Can you send a message to them saying, hey, I need you at this level, and because you're not there, I'm bringing someone else, right? And maybe that turns on light for that player. Maybe it doesn't. But at the 9 position, I think he can offer something, but I think it might, instead of it being it might be, for me at least, viewed more as sending a message to your depth or to your top players, saying, hey, I need Osimhen, I need more. Hey, Boniface, I need more. Lookman, could you look at the goal or look to cross more? I don't know, right? If he does that, I think with Desers, you have that opportunity, because out wide, again, Chukwueze is out there living his best life. And so for me, with that type of depth, you want to try to push players and keep them motivated, because you have the players to do so. You don't want to be in a position where you only have 7 players, and I gotta call him. I mean, he hasn't scored in 2 weeks, but I gotta call him because it's all I have. They have the luxury to do so, and maybe that sparks not only them at the club level, but it also sparks the team in saying, hey, if Boniface doesn't get called, or if, dare I say, Osimhen doesn't get called for a window, maybe I'm not safe either. I need to up the level. I think Eric Shell's at an opportunity where he can do that. We'll have to wait and see what he does because they don't have competitive matches. After this, they play Russia, Nigeria does, and then there's no competitive matches until the fall, in which case they're playing South Africa and they need a win there. I don't think they'll get it because South Africa was always up for a Nigeria matchup. But I think with the depth at 9, they could do something like getting their top players motivated in that sense. More people in the chat here.
Yes, we had Low in the building, Markland
Yes.
Barrett, DJ Gigs, yeah, and our brother Dwayne Thomas in the building. Yeah, man. Dwayne Thomas, who want to revamp the show like we always try to put some things together. I was a little bit busy over a couple of weeks or months, I would say, because we had some little challenging times. But yeah, we're back in the building.
So you have the finals now set. You have Jamaica versus Nigeria in one set. You have Ghana versus Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
Let's.
Which one do you want to start with?
I'll give you some time to ponder so I can kind of go after Ghana versus Trinidad and Tobago. I know it's a tough choice, JD. I know you're sweating. It's like, who shall I anger today? I'm going to say this, and it's the same mentality I have for the Canadian women's national team this year. I want to learn something. Do I think they should beat Trinidad and Tobago? I think they should. That doesn't mean that they will. Because right now, I think how most of the teams came, I think they were coming to come. Like Ghana has Mohamed Salisu on the bench. Does he play? If he plays against Trinidad and Tobago, I think your center backs are good because you have one solid center back. And you can either play them with Anthony Annan, who's out back there, or you can kind of see what else comes. But how Otto wants to rotate, I think is going to be key for me. I think you've seen enough from some of these young players that you can say, hey, let's give them another run. Let's see what happens. I would not be angry at that. I need more from the midfield for Ghana. I think against a team like Trinidad, I assume Trinidad will sit back a little bit and let Ghana be the more of the pragmatic on the ball and playing possession style. And that's what Ghana wants to do. They want to pass through. They want to pass through you that way. When it comes to Trinidad, and this is where I think Trinidad, is much better suited for that sit back. Dwight York, I think from what I've seen, yes, when they open up the game, they could do it. But I think Trinidad is fine playing a game where they have to defend and then counter. And again, Rio Cardines, I think if he shows as he did in the Jamaica game, I think he can certainly show against Ghana. So I think it's Ghana's game to lose, which means it's either going to be a 3-1 Ghana game or it's going to be a 1-0 Trinidad and Tobago game. And, Jordan Ayew is going to get the ball. He's going to head it off the crossbar, off himself, and he'll shoot it again. And it'll hit the post. And this will be the type of game it'll be. So I think for Ghana, if I'm Otto Addo, yes, winning is important. And you definitely want to have a win here. And I think he has the players to do it. But their finishing isn't always there, right? And that's something you saw in the second half. They had opportunities after opportunities. Jordan missing one at the end, Chris Robas starting as well, Thomas Asante as well. They can't necessarily finish. But I saw Trinidad they were clinical with their chances. So I think I want every game to feel like those first two. So if I'm giving a prediction right now, I'd say my head says 4-2 Ghana, right? Where you get a bag of goals going, it's 2-1 at the end of each half, and that's fine. That would be my most ideal outcome. What I think will happen will either be 2-1 Ghana or 1-0 Trinidad and Tobago, because it's one of the two for that. For you, when you're looking at that game, who do you have? And what would your best and worst outcomes be for those matchups?
All right. I think I want to give you some oops. We were talking today before the game, and I said that I thought that Trinidad looked okay in the second half, and in even the first half, they were exposing Jamaica, but Malina and those guys just never had the quick turn and
Hmm.
the overall vision. So I thought that it cost them in the end. Second half, they look better, but I want to say what I saw from Ghana in the end, that was much better, in my opinion, than any one of the halves them Trinidad played.
Hmm.
So if they start off the same way and can get the same mood in the game, I do believe that you could see Ghana becoming a little bit more, but it's going to be a good game, in my opinion. I think it's going to
Yeah,
be a close game. So for me, I do believe that Nigeria just need to start the same way they stopped off. So maybe even keep the same formation and keep the same players on that what they finish the game with. And maybe that will be the case because some players came off. No, the first player came off because of injury, right?
yes,
So
yeah.
maybe he
Aaron has some
can't
trouble
play
with
at
injury.
all.
Hmm.
Maybe he can't play at all. So that might accidentally force the same core, and maybe the intensity could continue. And based off that, I do believe that it's going to be a good game. And I am kind of favoring your Nigeria team. What you're asking about out wide, IU was not bad, even though I know that you complain about him being 195 years old. I thought that his older play really kind of changed the
Hmm.
game because they were sitting deep. So his older play kind of
It,
open space for the entire team, the extra energy of the youth them to run. So we have to give him the credit, even though I was burning him out early on.
I think you bring up a fair point with him, and it brings up a point. And he got caught doing it, but some other players got caught doing it. The one flaw you're going to see with some of these Ghanaian forwards is they they feel convicted to dribble through at least two players. Like it's almost as if it's not even a request; it's a demand in their soul that they must do it. Yet, and then you look at the transition and when they score the goal, it's a switch, a pass through, a cross, a goal. Nobody, Thomas Asante didn't think I had to dribble through five, right? Jordan think Christopher. I mean, to his credit, Bonsuba did, but that is the one thing I think that gets him into trouble sometimes. If they are just moving, we're not asking them to be Barcelona. No one is Barcelona but Barcelona. But if you pass the ball and move, you saw how good they looked, and that is the one concern with Ghana. And because when you said Jordan, I was like, that was the one thing I had, and it wasn't just him, but he dribbled himself into trouble sometimes. And yes, he's your best out, he's your best hold up player right now. I think Asante is a much better transition nine, and maybe he can play more. Maybe we can see him with the hold up, but the problem with how they are set, and this is where I said starting off, I think they need much more from the midfield because if
Yeah,
their
yeah.
midfield is stronger, I mean, Nigeria, their front, their middle, their back line was run. Swiss cheese was insulted by how many holes. They were just going through that. And that was a disappointment for me. So I think for them that if I'm Otto Addo, give the midfield another run, see if they can get some possession and then get some discipline within there. And I think if they do that, they don't have to play so much in that transition and they play well there. But again, both Trinidad and Ghana had good second halves. I won't disagree when you say I think Ghana had a better second half, even though they
Hmm,
only
hmm.
got the one goal. But I think both those sides showed when they turn up the intensity, they are able to actually play well. And so I think it'll be a good game. I think this tournament deserves like a high scoring game. That's why I said like a 4-2.
You just got a 3-2 game and you want a 4-2. So you
I want to be entertained, JD. If I want to learn and be
but,
entertained. I'm not
but
playing for the trophy, so
I
entertain
think
me.
I think it might just open up for you. So you might get a next 5 goals. And you never may know, because Jamaica tend to give up a lot of goals regardless of which back line they do have. So you
Hmm.
might get the goals them that you're looking for. I don't see the problem. I think it might just happen.
That's true. But then later in the day, we have the final, which is Nigeria versus Ghana. It's the JDFC, the IMAX at WeMax at Derby. It's which one will cuss you out more if you pick that one to win. And I get to say it's
Yeah.
the Derby of whoever I root will play poorly. So do you really want me to say your team wants to win? Because every time I say, oh, Nigeria's gonna have a strong game, 0-0 draw. Every time I say Jamaica's gonna have a strong game, 3-2 holding on versus Dominica. I can't win. So I'm not picking anyone here yet. But when you look at the game, I think I don't want to say it's purely on Nigeria because there is going to be rotation. I think you might see some players. I think all four teams kind of brought players hoping that if they make the final, they'll pull out some of their bigger guns and say, okay. Right? I think that's what Ghana did. I think Ghana was like, okay, we have Salisu here. Let's see if these kids, if we make the finals, yeah, well, Salisu, you can play against Jamaica or someone, but if not, you're fine. So I think Nigeria played it better. I mean, Chukwueze is levels here, right? But then you have players on the bench. So for you, what do you think are some of the deciding factors for who wins between your first and second passports?
Well, I don't have any passport for Jamaica at all, so I don't even know how it's gonna work. Yeah. So, well, number one and number two country, no problem. But the passports, I'm not gonna lie to people. I never had the passport because they never gave it to me. With other circumstances, I don't know how it worked out, but yeah, whatever it is, I never got it at it. But yeah, yeah, I gave the story to the on the actual screen.
That you did.
I think it's going to be a good one. Starting for me, clearly Nigeria has the better front players. It's not even close because Burrell is solid. I think he has everything. Cephas has speed. Dixon has just youth exuberance or something like that. I would say, that's what I'm seeing. But Burrell looked better than the other two. I don't think they have reached that level as yet. Like one of them don't reach. Each one of them have so much. No, I think Dixon has way more completion to his game and he's way younger. Cephas, they said he has speed only. I know they don't say that. I said that. What I saw from him is just speed only. So with that said, the front line, I definitely think Nigeria wins it because Chukwueze is a professional player at the highest level. And clearly his game showcases that. So even the most biased fan would have actually acknowledged that. So the quality this year comes in. He brought in the same level of quality as to what we saw from Burrell from Jamaica. Right.
Yeah.
And then over the next side, if they're gonna keep it to a homegrown player, then I could say that maybe drag back the forward line to closer. But if they go with Simons to finish the after so Desert or when Iheanacho and Simons, I think it's a no-brainer. You get me? It's a no-brainer. Yeah. Nigeria would have had the better forward. But what they did, I heard that they brought Madasil in. They brought in Busy Atkinson. So maybe those can add some quality as well. Madasil, we talk about Madasil a lot, so he could add some value to the team. Would I say it's still better than Nigeria's front line? If it's Iheanacho or Desir and Simon with Chukwueze, we can't name any better front line unless you have Leon Bailey, Damara Gray, and Mikel Antonio in it. You understand me? Or maybe the two wingers and then Burrell as the striker or Madasil as the striker or somebody else as the striker. That's the only way I would say that it is comparable. So their forward line is definitely better. Their midfield now with Onyeka and Ndidi. Obviously, they have to add more in it. Then they have a little piece, one or two pieces up against Aiden in the midfield. John Russell, really like what John Russell offered the last time. KC Palmer, quality as well. I still believe that they win out in the midfield as well. You understand me? Because those two, Onyeka and Ndidi, I think it's kind of superior to the other players overall. So far, they would have won it in midfield. The defense line. I think defense line, I think I like Jamaica a lot more because Jamaica has all qualified players right across the stretch. So you have Amari Bell or Greg Lee as left back. Then you have Aiden. You have
Yes.
Aiden as the left centre back. Richard King comes in. Richard King is a lower grade player, but they really like him in Jamaica. For me, I am still waiting to see what he could offer. But he's a decent pass of the ball. The defensive quality, I don't think he's up there as yet. But I will wait to see that. Then Lembekisa is playing at a high level. Maybe never had the best game the last time, but I still would squeak in Jamaica's defense over Nigeria because it's just Ajayi and Bruno as the two professional players in the listing. You understand me?
I get
So that
okay.
means I would have to give Jamaica the defense. So I think with that said, and then the keeper, I don't care which keeper Jamaica picks. I think I would have gone with Stanley over all of them. You understand me? Because they are all local players, and the first one never really gave me a good feeling. And I heard people start telling that people have to get acclimatized to weather and all sort of dumb crap. If you're a professional player, we can't use excuse. If you don't pull it off, you have to just go back and try get it together. You understand me?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know how. Like, I think the defense line is a fair point. I just don't like how do these teams play and how do they start off? And if I'm going to go by what I've seen with history, right? Does McLaren look at Nigeria as a side that he thinks he can just play? He thinks that they're equal in level. Because the thing I've not liked about McLaren with Jamaica is anytime that any side that they play that he feels is even remotely decent at passing, it's almost as if they decide we're just going to sit back and hit them on the counter, which I don't think they need to show that type of respect to so many teams, but that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so if McLaren walked into this thinking, I think we can beat them, they might have a better chance, but that might create an open game. Right? This might be the game where you want to sit back and then maybe to play a ball into space, and then you say Cephas or Dixon, this is where you're gonna be defending, and once we get the ball, we're a midfielder sending the ball into space. You have to win it, and then send a great delivery into the box for everyone coming in, and maybe they get it done that way. But if this is an up and down game, I look, as much as I'll always bad my Nigeria. Look, I know what their level is. I've seen it. The frustration with them is it's never consistent. Excuse me. So, do I think Nigeria at their best they beat Jamaica? Yes. But this is Nigeria. Anytime I think they're going to
Mm-hmm.
play at their best, they're going to play a game at the level. It's the same thing as Ghana. The Nigeria is either winning a game 3-0 or they're losing 1-0, and you're saying why. So for me, if I have to go right now, based off of, I'm sorry, Nigeria. Look, I'm sorry, but you have to get it done. So don't disappoint me. Don't
Okay,
disappoint me.
so you're okay. I thought you were going to go for Jamaica. I was
No,
expecting them to go for Jamaica because
no,
once it's Nigeria, you just said anybody else, you know. But it looks like it's two of your teams that you don't expect much from. It doesn't matter what the talent is.
I wouldn't even say that I don't expect much from them. I think it's more so that they never play up to the level I expect them to. So I don't have faith in them is really the correct term. So I think for me, I have more faith in the paper that I see. I say, okay, Chikwueze, I know that you will square up against whichever player who looks is not the level in the back line and just say, you know what? I'll have my jollof here, and this will be a good time.
DJ
And I
fit.
think that's what he'll do. And I think Deserves will have some good movement, and I think it'll be a good test for that Jamaican back line. On the flip
Mm-hmm.
side, if Jamaica and we've got, I feel like I've said this as like tongue in cheek, but seriously, if Jamaica's midfield has the same first half they had, this is a much different game because I don't know if they can go bar for bar with Nigeria, but if they can have the same first half they had against Trinidad, I think that bodes so much better for them, and that opens up so much for that. But then it comes down to can your forward line now be clinical with the chances that you get? I feel like both CONCACAF sides are going to sit back defensively and try to counter and win against these African sides. Or maybe they'll say we can play them. If they I think they have a better shot if they defend and counter versus trying to play straight up. Because I think you can get a moment where you can get Dixon or Cephas on the end of a ball and then do something. I think you can do that. But or Cardines gets a turnover. I think he can switch the ball or get it to whatever frontline player you have. But I think both African sides want to play on the ball, and I think they'll want to leave London well. But I think Nigeria has more talent to do it. We'll see if they can. But me saying I think Nigeria wins means Nigeria is going to lose this game 1-0 because these are the rules. This is what
Well,
happens.
if it's a 1-0 game, this game would have been an hectic 1-0 game because both teams are trying to be all action. So I don't know how this is going to end up in a 1-0. It's going to be 6 times hitting the crossbar and 15 mistakes and 15.
It's
big
going to be a
chances.
stressful experience. It's Nigeria and Jamaica together. The stress is already seasoned, JD. The stress is already seasoned.
Facts.
Get your peas or your tomato paste and season it. You just eat it and see what goes with it. So as we're gonna wrap this up, we said we wanted to talk about. We haven't heard too many of you say, but players that stood out for you in both games. We talked about a few in the Jamaica Trinidad game, but we'll get back to this. But I really want to talk about this Ghana side because I said before, look, I get to learn about players, and this is what I was excited about. And Christopher Bonsuba, number 22. I think his not even second half. I think from about the 30th minutes till he was subbed off, I think the energy and the life he played on the wing really showed well. Definitely a standout. Thomas Asante played well. I think the player that a lot of people are talking. Well, I noticed, and I immediately went to what's the depth chart for this player, right? And here's the fun thing about this player is it's Caleb Yinrechi. He was the number 5 who came on as the right back in the second half.
Oh my God. Yeah,
19 years old. 19 years old. Christopher Bond, 19 years old. And I think Aaron Essel is 19 or 20. They're all U20 camp participants. So I was happy to see that. But I think if you see that, I think he is the most intriguing for me because you look at the right backs for Ghana. You have Seidu, who is playing well. Tariq Lamptey is someone I think if he's healthier, he gets the start. But Tariq Lamptey's availability might open a door for a player like Caleb. I think if he continues on in Denmark, maybe he gets a call coming into the fall for some World Cup qualifiers. And then if they're able to qualify in that next window, then they have a window and then friendlies. They can experiment with this because I think he was a revelation. The fans really appreciated him and how he played. Ghanaian fans will love good passing and good defending and, a goal. Give us a goal every once in a while. We'll be happy with that. But I think those 3 for Ghana really, for me, stood out. We talked about Nigeria, Desers. I think he's a good tool that I think Eric Shell could use, especially to try to light a fire under his 9s. Because if Desers is able to come in and just show, hey, we're bringing him in because everyone else isn't playing well, then it becomes, I think you motivate your 9s there. He's at Rangers currently in terms of what he's doing there. But this Ghana-Nigeria matchup, any other players for you stood out for you?
Ajayi, I would say, because why I said Ajayi, because every single time he was playing with Ikang, I thought that he was not pulling his weight because Ikang always have a little mentorship there. And he also, Alahina, they had as well, around there with him. So he had the support. So I wanted to see him by himself, to see what he had to offer. And I want to say that he dealt with himself well enough for me to respect his his game. So Alahina, Ajayi, I was okay with.
Mhm.
In the middle, NDD, I was looking to see what he offers as well. Because
Yeah.
remember, these are players that, and the problem here on Nigeria, I was looking for those things. So in the future, I could add it to content. Yes,
Mhm.
so NDD, Ajayi, and definitely we had quick Chukwueze, but I'm gonna skip about Chukwueze and just use this year's
Yeah.
how he was running. So right through the spine of the team, I really like what I saw, and I realized that these players became better players overall. Because I'm seeing more of them now. I saw what they could offer. So if they could bring it into the core of their team, when um all of the other guys comes back, I think they're going to only make Nigeria better. So this is a good opportunity for all of them to play, like the core players to play with some younger players to see how they can really transform in it. But based on what I saw, I kind of like that spine there. So I like
Mhm.
Ajayi, NDD, and this year's I will go with my three.
No, I think that's a fair group of players as well. I have nothing against them. Again, Semi Ajayi I think is a fair shout because when you see Ekong there, Ekong is just not that he's more active, but he flashes more defensively, and so I look forward to that. So I think that's a good shout for there, and that spine was good. When we move over to the Trinidad and Jamaica game, players who stood out here. I know the Jamaicans are here letting us know how they're going to feel about it, and that's fine. Let me get to that. DJ Fatal, good to see you as well. You have Detonation saying once Ravel starts, I don't see Nigeria winning. Well, when does he start? Does he start from the get go, or does he start from the 60th minute? Because we'll wait and see from there. Jeremy Song, Jamaica will win the Unity Cup. We'll see. We will definitely see. Lee Young saying, I saw Michael Hector in the training squad. Well, I mean, it is when in England, call up everyone who's playing in England and see what you
Yes,
can
and
get.
you have a lot of people to call upon in England.
Yes,
That's what it
John
is.
Jones
So
let me know that Nigeria is not losing to a country that gets slapped by USA and Mexico routinely. Nigeria 3, Jamaica nil. John, I appreciate your faith in this process. But in this Jamaica Trinidad game, any players who stood out for you, you feel?
uh oh, how would I look at it now? Standout players, I would
Yes.
have to say Borrell, 100%.
Okay.
Russell, and Casey Palmer was good as well, but
Mhm.
Aiden was very quiet. So I would go for Aiden was good, but because he was very quiet, nobody talked about him. But
Yeah.
I like to pick through the spine. I like to pick through the spine of the team. All right.
Okay. Oh, I didn't realize Burrell was only 24. I thought he was a little bit older, but that's not bad. That's if you're good, that's definitely two, maybe three cycles. No, that's two cycles basically. If you play it out well, but okay, Burrell's not bad. Who and then you said Hayden. Well, Hayden, like
And then
Hayden,
and
yeah.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead. I will then add it in.
No, I was gonna
No, I
say
never put it.
defenders.
I never put Aiden in there. I never put him
Oh,
in.
oh,
But
you
I'm
said
saying he's
Holgate.
just always normal. I
Okay.
want to give Oldgate a little bit more credit because, but I can't pick because the backline wasn't all that good here. But you know what? I'm gonna put Oldgate in it. So Oldgate, Russell, and Burrell. Those are the ones. So John Russell, Oldgate, and Burrell. Those are the
Okay.
three I'm gonna use.
hmm Yeah, like it's interesting to see how they would play. I don't think they were like again. I think the first half was much better than the second half. There's no doubt. I like Burrell's goal. I think the off of that Senton ball. I don't think their back line was good. Amari Bell, I think, struggled a lot more than I anticipated. That is a whole conversation, at least for me. And we'll kind of wait and see. But you guys, give me your players. Who are your players who stood out in the game? Guys, Lee Young's telling me,
Big up
uh,
Conroy. Thanks for being here.
yes, saying John Russell. I Revive saying the player from Crystal Palace, that's
Yes,
Rio
yes, we talked
Cardines.
about him.
Yes,
Cardenas, yeah.
definitely. Conroy, good to see you as well. I think those are solid names. And then, yeah, because like you've talked enough about Dixon and Cephas today. I don't need you to do another shift on it.
I never even talked about them once, I just referred them in sentences,
Mm,
but we realized that maybe people thought that we talked about them.
mhm.
But
No,
it was
fair, fair, fair.
our reference, yeah, our reference. We never
No,
even Paid him. I think only when Jason Guna called, we did had a conversation about the players because he was talking about the lineup, but I never really talked
Mhm.
about Dixon or again specifically. It was just a reference right through the show. But I guess a
Yeah.
lot of people don't really listen, so they don't understand much.
I wonder how McLaren wants to play this because I think if they try to play them straight up, I don't think that's the best move. I think it's a strange thing that I'll say. It's not the best tactical move, but I think it's the best psychological move, right? This is the best way I'll describe it. Them trying to attack Nigeria straight up is the equivalent, and it could go either. It's Canada at the World Cup, right? It could either be we really surprised them and we lost 1-0 to Belgium, or we got a goal and then Croatia happened. I feel like it's one of the two, right? And I think I feel like Nigeria wins this. Okay. And Daniel Green stood out for the wrong reasons. Well,
Okay, Lee, I have never heard you disrespected players. I don't know why are you picking up that style today, Lee Young. You're always the greatest on Jamaican players. Oh, it's not Lee Young. Lee Young talks the truth. It was
yeah.
somebody else, man. It's not Lee Young. Sorry, Lee Young. It's not you. You
Mhm.
always kind of stand up on the truth. Yeah, Daniel Green never really gave me anything. I thought he would have came in with better control, and it was the controlling let him down. So I don't know what to say,
Mm.
because I was saying anybody except Cephas on that field because he just never seems like he could have controlled the ball. So I wanted somebody to control the ball, because I wanted Jamaica to win the game. But
Mhm.
we brought on Green, and Green let me down.
That's true. And I will almost want to ask you this now because I think when you're looking at the final and how it'll look, because Jamaica from this and Trinidad as well, they go straight to World Cup qualifiers in that sense. And we're getting some more comments on how Green was poor. Is there anyone in these games you think has done enough because they have World Cup qualifiers, then the Gold Cup, right? If you're looking at this roster of names that normally aren't brought in, right? And I think I almost want to say specifically a player like Burrell because this is what does a player like Burrell have to do to make sure to give him a good shout to make at least the Gold Cup? I don't know if he's gonna make the World Cup qualifying matchups, but at least maybe
Huh?
coming in for the Gold Cup, at least there. What and I'm only mentioning him because I'm looking at this about everyone else here other than Davis in the goal. Like everyone else I think is regularly getting called up. Maybe not as much in the midfield, or there's the whole John Russell is too slow conversation, which is wild to me because as a midfield, you progress the ball. Doesn't mean that you have to dribble it. But I digress. But like Burrell's the only new face in this lineup. So what does he have to do to maybe guarantee a spot not only at the World Cup qualifiers but at the Gold Cup?
Uh, Burrell, but because right now we have Mikel Antonio. Mikel Antonio is coming off an injury. So
Mhm.
even though he's going to be the first choice, what the coach would want, we don't know the condition that he's going to be in. And the
Mhm.
28th, they said the released for him to be back available is up. Like that's the period that he could come in. Yeah, so we have to see what he does in the first and second game. The good thing is he got some game time to go in before the Gold Cup. So at this point, I think this striker shows that he's very good. And we
Mhm.
only had Warner Brown, Shamar Nicholson that's off in the Mexican League for a long time. So it is not as clear. Right? So
Mhm.
for me, I think Burrell jumps a lot of steps, and I think he might be one of them that they're trying to depend on because we just
Hmm.
don't have any striker. Because Cephas can be playing as a striker, Kaim can be playing as a striker, but I think Burrell already showed that he's better than both of them at any one of the roles them as well. Winger
Okay.
or striker. So he just jumped in the team already in his placements. The only way he gets pulled out is if Mother Sales them came in and does something, or Tyrese Campbell from Charlton comes in and does something. That's the only way I could see him get pushed down if those guys do better than him. But I don't see them just coming in and do better because we don't have enough time. So I would say that Burrell's place actually almost cemented.
Hmm. Well, I get if you see it that way, maybe I mean when you break it down, it is actually more interesting because you forget Antonio is in one space just from a fitness level. We'll just say
Mhm,
from a
mhm,
health level. Maybe
mhm.
I think if Jamaica, if the way I see Jamaica looking at it is they try to get him ready for the Gold Cup at least, versus trying to rush him for these. Maybe they try to get him in for one
Good,
game
good,
before.
good point. Very good
Yeah.
point. Very good point. So that would even influence Burrell's chances even greater.
Mhm.
Because they said no, if they said no Mikel Antonio, Burrell might be one of the main striker.
No, that's fair, and then they go from there. So yeah, because this team it has a lot of names that have already been there. So I'm not saying like, ooh, does King have to do something to get back on the squad? He's on the squad. Holgate and Hayden, I think they should be on the squad. I think if that's your midfield, but you also have other options, right? You have a Bobby Reed that you're hoping is going to be in better form playing. You have Leon Bailey that you hope is going to be in good form, and then it comes down to that's actually interesting now. If not Shamar, because I even have Eagle Republic saying that with Burrell has pushed Boza Nicholson to the end of the bench based off his performance. You score one overhead kick, and the man goes straight to comfy chair on the side. But if you're looking at Jamaica's going with a 4-3-3 here, right? And let's just hypothetically push it up to you have Demarai Gray on the right, you have Leon Bailey on the left. Who is the best style of strikers based off that? Does Burrell suit that? Is it Dixon? Is it Cephas? And I'm removing Nicholson immediately just because I think it's just more it's a more fascinating conversation to me. You know my feelings on Nicholson. Nicholson is the Jamaican is a poor man's Jamaican Cal Aaron. So
Okay, okay.
like
Yeah, but we are not going to disrespect Nichols here because even though I saw enough, I just think that a lot of these other Jamaican local players coming up, they are kind of overhyped, in my opinion. And Nichols and Bailey should stop being disrespected. I don't think Dixon is better than Nichols, are nowhere near, and I don't think Cephas is better than him, or Bailey are nowhere near. Those are still the best players of Jamaica. So for me, I'm sorry to burst Eagle Republic's bubble. I think Nicholson adds more than Cephas just the same. It's just because one playing in a different position and you have to add more things. So if you have Liam Bailey firing or you brought in Burrell to go wide and you have Liam Bailey over the next side creating, Nicholson will be way more better than Cephas or Dixon. Remember, these are high level players that performed before, And what I can't understand Billy yeah, Mothersill is in camp now. I don't know. I heard that everything is all right with him, so he might be included in the listing tomorrow.
mhm.
So let's see how that goes. Yeah, but so we can talk extensive on those forwards, but I'm gonna hold off until I do see them on the field so we can talk. All right. So all I'm saying is, what Jamaica has done a lot. Lot is just move to the next hot topic
Mm.
and not necessarily anything to do with anything physically possible with what the information is. And none of these players coming up ain't better than Liam Bailey or Shamar. Shamar, Liam is still the big dogs of the top from the Jamaican fraction. I don't think it has changed. So we can't just dismiss the man out of conversation to say that we're done with Boza.
Mhm.
All right, so both Igor probably said, I know that. I was the one that told you that a 16-year-old came in place of the person. So I
Yeah.
had said that. But the problem is, Dixon haven't played football for a million year either. He just played a game here. So what give Dixon the right to be better than him? Cephas is playing in a way lower league than a way lower division than Bowser. So even if he can't get game, is it not based on the competition? Because when you guys told me that the Mexican league is so high.
It like and that's a fair conversation. Like, is there value to being on a
Okay.
because like that's a conversation that we'll
Yeah,
have with say like a player in Canada. We'll have a similar conversation with a player like
yeah,
say, okay,
yeah,
with the two new strikers who came in for Canada, you have Promise
yeah,
David, you
yeah,
have
yeah.
Daniel Jebison, right? And I think if you
Yeah.
say, is there value? Jebison's at a higher level, but he's coming off the bench for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes for Bournemouth. or you have Promise David, who's leading the league in goal scoring as the league's most viable player. So I think there's a fair conversation with that. I think it ultimately comes down to what you're looking for, which is why I think I asked it in the sense of, if you have Damari Gray on the left, on the right, you have Leon Bailey on the left. What's the best 9 you think that complements those based off of what the pool you have? Antonio is not fit. Is it Dixon? Is it Cephas? Is it Burrell? Like that. That's why I asked it that way versus
I would
saying,
say Borrell,
yeah,
Borrell, and Shamar Nicholson. We can't rule him out because
okay,
I do believe that he still offers something. Then after that, it becomes tricky because I think that today Madasil is still Madasil can pop up and do something as a striker because he plays striker, and he would have gone into the queue above Dixon and the Cephas as a striker because that is his position. You understand me? So
yeah.
the wing positions are different from the striker, and obviously those wing positions are almost done. So it's um, more Leon Bailey and Damara agree. You understand?
Mm-hmm. No, that's a fair point. I think DJ was asking if they can play on both wings, or so you're asking if they can play if they're multi-changing on both sides. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Is Cephas too old to improve? I I said this on Jason's stream because they were I kept on hearing this refrain, and there's 2 ways to look about it, right? I think if you keep on asking, if your commentary on the player is always if they can do this, if they can do that, if the main description of the player is if, at some point you are no longer an if. You are that, right? You are the player who, if it goes well, it can work. But overall, that is your ceiling as a player. So when you translate that to a player like Cephas, can he improve? Has he improved from when he went over? Yes. Is his range as large as what it was initially when we looked at it? I'd say probably not. I think there's room for improvement. I don't think his age will impact that because development isn't linear in any way. But I do think that his ceiling for potential isn't necessarily as high as it was based off of where he is. I think if you want to talk about him improving, you'd want to see him really start to push at his league, and you'd really want to see him start to be more of a dominant force. And like you'd rather have a player who's, and that's a conversation where moves. Like, do you want to, as a player, do you want to dominate and be dominant on the ball in that league? Or would you rather have a bit part? I think for where he is in his league, you want to see maybe a little bit more of that. And again, this is just me looking at his stats. I know JD, you'll have some thoughts on it. Like looking at his 24, this yet Ronaldo Cephas, here we are. I'll just pull him up here, right? Da, 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 da. There we are. So I think if you look at his 24-25 season, right? 8 goals, 5 assists, 13 goal contributions, and 27 appearances. So it's a goal contribution every other game. That's not terrible. But what you would like to see? I mean, more goals and assists. You see, he's a player who's going to finish, and especially playing more on the winger. That screams more inverted forward, right? Wing forward, inverted, moving forward that way. You would like to see, at least for me, I'd love to see, and again, we're ballparking numbers. If he can get that goal contributions further up to 20 consistently, I think that would bode well for him. Seeing how he only started and looking at what his 37% of the starting 11s, half of the minutes, he is a substitute. He's an impact player at club, right? Which that's what I'm reading from this on Transfer Market, which to me means if you're an impact player at club, maybe you have to become that. And that's a whole conversation with club football versus national team football. Maybe put you in the same position that you are at club so you succeed better, right? We had this conversation with Davies. Like Davies is a player who for Canada who used to play out wide. Marsh came in and said, you're going to be a fullback. And so I think for that space, I think he's better as a fullback because that's what he plays day in, day out. Based off what transfer market is showing me, he sounds like a super sub type player for a club, which means maybe that's his best usage because he can come in with a simple directive versus hold up, defend better. Maybe he comes into the game and says, hey, you're going to be in this corner and run out and win a few balls, or it's going to be, we need you on the counter just to attack this fullback because you have the pace. So I think maybe that's where it is. But I think overall, that's what I would say for it. I don't know if JD, if you want to add anything to it.
Um, I think you've said it perfectly, and I love that you is the one actually said so. Because you just look at the facts, and you said he's just an impact player, and that's exactly what I thought he is. He's just an impact player. He has speed, so you brought him in when everything is opening up. Because what people don't understand, when they start to play from early, that's where all your tactics comes from. So if you're less technical, you're going to be shown up, and that's why he got shown up in a lot of games because his controlling is poor. His overall vision of the game is terrible. It's just as it is, and people upset when I said that. But when they watch the game, they said the same thing that I've said. Because what you watch when you watch my live stream, they are the ones in the chat cursing him out. But because he won the 2 penalties, everything is forgiven. But yet still, they're going to have the same problem when it comes on to Jamaica next game again. You understand me? So for me, the player is an impact player, best as what he said. And I don't think he can lead Jamaica's line and lead Jamaica to success. It has to be on an impact basis, and you have to have the others that are going to do the job what the coach wants. Because I heard people trying to dismiss Damari Gray. There is no football earth that a coach would pick Damari Gray, Cephas over Damari Gray. It's almost impossible. One is flat out one of the best technical dribblers on the field, ball retention. So every tactical football plays today, nobody will call Cephas and pick him for that. But people will say Damari Gray can still fill a gap. So what you do now, you use them as both combination. So Damari Gray will always start because he will pull out what the coach actually wants, and then Cephas will come on to do a finishing job if it's required. You understand me? So it's surprising that people just always be emotional and just they want the new thing, the new thing. We just saw Cephas try to play Dominica and literally couldn't pass the fullback, and he just canceled out of the game, and they had to take him off because somebody is there fast enough and just backtrack and close the angle or drop slow, drop deeper, and he couldn't get the space. You understand me? And that's what they don't watch football. So their conversation will always be different. When I know they don't watch football, when they come and tell me that what I'm saying is the truth in the games, but I was watching the games to know that was the truth from day one. So I never had to waste my time again to know what will take place on the field. That's why repetition is important,
Yeah, that's fair. See, I'm gonna make a comparison for him, and it's a different, but this is how I view him the same way as I view this specific player here, because I think they suit better. But let's go through the comments before I make this. Actually, let's go through the comments here. I was gonna make 2 wings. Gray comes back, it's done. Kind of to the point that I was saying for Nigeria with Deserts. Maybe Martin's Eagle and Martin going out, but the point being, bring Campbell, bring Warner Brown ahead of Boza, just to let them know it's not automatic. Maybe that's the thing. Again, maybe a choice like that, especially. I mean, that would be a call if you didn't bring him for both the World Cup qualifiers and the Gold Cup. That's a message. Like, I don't know what's more of a that's not subtle. Nobody sent you a text. They were at your car and they told you, hey, we need more from you. Right. And so I think that'll be very interesting if they chose to do that. It'd be bold. And I think McLaren needs a bold choice at some point. That's just me on the outside looking in. There. Okay, so true.
Yes, bold choice. Jamaican sensation nowadays. You said a sensible coach will never take Cephas off the field. Believe me, if I am a coach coaching a national team, I would love to see Cephas starting against me. That would be the perfect one. And they wouldn't. I would have to show them how easy it is. But if they watch the Dominica game, they would have done how easy it is. If they watch a USA second installment, they would have seen how easy it is. Brother, I think they are just too caught up in reaction, like the athleticism and this burst of speed and energy. They are not actually watching the fundamentals around football. Believe me, a lot of coaches can embarrass your wing if that's how you work it. So if you say only so you're calling coaches idiot, we don't put Cephas on the field. Well, his club don't put him on the field. Always he plays less minutes than what you would have think. So why is that? Because they see him as more of an impact player. So you can't say they're not sensible. That is just you making up stories. Yeah, but it's okay.
I feel like I understand. I'm saying I'm laughing for multiple reasons. One, we're reached the point where I'm looking at the time and I'm like, I know why you do this, JD. I know why it happens because you're there. Then the conversation keeps going. Listen, the ref has called for 6 minutes of additional time.
You said
I said
but,
90
if you want to
minutes.
wrap up, but if you want to do a breakdown tomorrow, we can go and do a breakdown again. We don't have any problem. You can run it a little bit, but if we come back tomorrow, we do a next hour. I have no problem. I will owe you that. I promise you that if you turn up, I will turn up for next hour, and the people will turn up.
We will certainly see. But I think it's been a good session on the Uni Cup, guys. If you are late to the program, we will definitely take a look at it. Yeah, of course, no racism. Agreed. But when did we? I said a hard.
I don't even know what he's talking about when he comes.
I am confused.
Here.
But we talked about the 2 semifinals for the Unity Cup. I think it's been overall a success. I mean, the vibes are great. It's fun. It's a fun banter, as I said, and I'll say I'm just annoyed because now I have to hear talk for the next 3 months, and it'll be fine. They're allowed to. They're allowed to talk, and Nigerians, that is. And then when they fail to make the World Cup and Ghana does again, I will stand there and say, yes, another friendly, but talk, please. We insist. That'll be me. But Unity Cup will be interesting how both teams or how all 4 teams take up their matchups. I'm very much excited. Turn a little bit Jamaican, but that's what happens all the time we're here. JD, anything to leave off before we head out here?
All I'm saying, just subscribe to Africans channel. This is where we're going to do our breakdown. Straight football, no drama, and all of those stuff. So we're just breaking down what we see. And obviously, if you want to challenge that, you have to be watching games as well, which is essential. You understand me? Yeah. So not a problem. Yes, Chris. He's there. I have pictures and those stuff, so I will send them to you. No problem.
Indeed. But guys, be there as well. This begins the long march of football death to me. Canada has all the games. I have the Canadian Shield, so I'll be talking a lot of Cote d'Ivoire coming up soon. The women's U20 played today, Canada with a 7-1 win. So we'll see what happens. Will Nigeria qualify for the World Cup? John, no, they won't. Look, and you know I am of 2 minds of this. Emotionally, I'm happy with it, but fundamentally, Nigeria should not be missing World Cups. So for me, I think they've dug themselves too much of a hole, and I don't think they can recover. They'd have to be perfect. They need
okay.
And they,
all right. We're going to put that in the show tomorrow because you always want to put that slight dig on the big bad Nigeria. You know what? It's okay.
This is not a slight. This is their fans will say the same thing.
We're going to put it in tomorrow. You need to put it in it as well. Can this transform the form of Nigeria? You understand me? So we can have the conversation. All right. Can winning the cup add the values? Yes, we need to talk. You don't want to talk about it, but we will tomorrow. You're going to come back tomorrow.
Yes, so I can be right again. Yay!
Yes. You should have brought it up early on, but we have topics for tomorrow, so he's coming back tomorrow. All right. So don't worry yourself. We'll short you guys have 20 minutes. We will give it tomorrow. Don't worry yourself. We are going to be up and live tomorrow. All right.
Indeed, guys. So thanks for being here. And again, guys, I'll just say bye-bye for now.